Hello, and welcome to the Passion Driven Pioneers interview series. I'm your host, John Channon, and today I'm joined by Matt Stahl, who is the founder of Ascent. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, John. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to our discussion. So just to get us started, would you mind kicking us off with a brief background as to who you are, what you do, and the business that you're in?
Yeah, absolutely. So my story is somewhat winding, and I've followed all sorts of interesting paths. My trade of choice, I would say, originally was as an engineer, and that's what I went to school for way back when, and went down that path for a short, about 18 months, before I realized that that was not the path that was meant for me, and that first position out of school, I was working for a very small business, and I had the opportunity to very quickly pivot into becoming more of an apprentice to the business owner than a design engineer. And that really opened my eyes to the world of entrepreneurship and the world of owning and running a business. And it was clear that it was time for me to start to evaluate which direction I wanted to go. And at that point, I would say I had a little mini retirement. So I took about 6 months to evaluate what I wanted that next path to look like, and I ultimately made the choice to go down the wealth management route. And so I started at a big box firm as an employee, and I was there for about 4 years. Found that I really enjoyed the client side of things, the personal relationship side of things, and really gravitated towards the marketing side. And that was 2009. And if you think back to what was happening in 2009, it was not the time when you get the advice to go start a business. But I made the choice to start my own firm with 2 partners, and my first child was on the way, and we started basically from zero, and that was an adventure in and of itself. And quickly we realized that wasn't going to work with 3 partners, and so we came together and decided. And I say this often, but sometimes you have to break things and put them back together. And so we decided to break everything and decide how that would come back together, and that ultimately ended up me buying out one of the partners and moving forward, running my own practice. And that was from about 2010 to 2019. It's classic solopreneur business. It was me facing the clients. I had a small support staff that was virtual, and no full-time employees. And that was about the time I discovered Tim Ferriss' 4-Hour Work Week. I don't know if that resonates with you at all, but that really excited me. And so I started to go down that path of figuring out how can I create a really unique experience for clients and provide them a lot of value while being as efficient as I possibly can. And so at the same time, I'm raising young children. I have 4 children at home. So my wife and I, had our hands full. And from 2010 to 2019, really explored different paths of how can I optimize that business as much as possible. And got to the point where I was doing the things that were in my unique ability that I really loved. And frankly, I started to get bored. And about that time, I had been having conversations with one of my former partners about really turning this from a practice, a wealth management practice, turning that into a business. And 2019, my partner rejoined, and some of his experience combined with mine really set us up to think about going bigger. And from 2019 to 2022, we didn't quite 10x the company, but it was close. It was 9.2x maybe. You can't round up to 10 with that. So we'll say we 9x the company in that amount of time. We went from the 2 of us to a staff of 15, and grew the top line revenue by about 9.2%, or 9.2x, not percent. Within that time frame, I quickly evolved from being an advisor facing clients to stepping into a leadership role. Mm-hmm. And we had brought in junior advisors, we brought in staff, and through that experience, I realized what my true passion was. And it was building an organization, building the culture within that organization. And those are the things, that's what was really getting me up in the morning. I still love the clients. I still love that personal work, but it started to become somewhat repetitive. You know, it was, and that was a new adventure. And during that time frame, as we all know, COVID, you know, came along, and so it gave the opportunity to really think about this. This statement has really stuck with me, and it's, I would say up to that point, the question I asked myself a lot was, what do I want out of life? And, you know, that goes back to the optimizing and efficiency. But I started to really shift to, what does life want out of me? And I found in my work, both with our team and with clients, my conversations began to go down the path of talking more about not just the mechanics of managing money, but it was the emotional side of things. And digging deeper and deeper, you know, I realized that my true passion is the whole person. You know, it's not just the money piece, but are we living a fulfilled life beyond just checking the boxes of success? And in that time frame, I also bought a gym and took over a gym, and that's where my passion for wellness really started to show up. And my wife and I took over that gym in 2017. So Ascent is really the culmination of combining all these different parts of my background into where we are today. And that is creating we call it an experience ecosystem to elevate human potential. And we believe that through four different elements, we can unlock, strengthen, and inspire human potential. And those are wellness, adventure, connection, and pursuit. And I can go into what each of those mean in more detail if that would be helpful, but that's where we are right now. And this started as a retreat company where we're taking groups of entrepreneurs or executives up to the north or south lakeshore of Lake Superior, and creating a 3-day experience for them to really allow them, give them the space and the time and permission to take a step back within the frame of those 4 elements of really how their life is going, and are they where they want to be across all these 4 elements, not just from a business perspective, but how am I showing up for my community and my family and myself? And if not, then how do I change course? And what sort of practices and what sort of actions can I take over the next 90 days to get myself on track? That's how this was all born, was a conversation between 2 friends that own businesses that were navigating through COVID, and, you know, sharing those practices with one another that were helping us keep our heads on straight, frankly. And now this has evolved into us creating actually a local community within the Twin Cities. So bringing that experience from up north back to the Twin Cities, and creating that same clarity that we've helped people achieve at that retreat experience.
Now that's an interesting journey. I mean, wealth management, right? And then health management. And now really it sounds like kind of a leadership development, bit of soul searching, right? And what do I really want to get out of life, or what does life want to get out of me, I think was the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's really pretty cool. But so you've got several different businesses, right?
Yes. So we have our gym community, Fit House. The way we describe that is it's a small but mighty community. So it's a community focused, you would say micro gym. So we're not, you know, creating the big box gym experience. It's a much more localized experience, focused on functional fitness, but wellness as a whole. And so that I own that with my wife, Katie, and another couple who also happens to be my co-founder of Ascent. And
Okay.
so that's where that whole evolution. Now I give Katie and Nicole credit because they are the day-to-day operators of FitHouse. I often say that Styles and I, my partner in Ascent, our role at FitHouse is athlete, part-time coach, and also big picture owner. So we help with some of the navigating of the big picture, but we're not as involved in the day-to-day. And
So, so what does your work-life balance look like?
yeah.
Because, you know, because a little bit about those retreats is probably covering some of those topics around work life and what's my balance, right?
Yeah, that's
Talk about
great.
yours.
So I focused on that a lot in the time frame, I would say from 2016 to 2019. My children, I have 4 children, and they're all very actively involved in sports, and it's important to me that I'm in their life. That's been something from day one, that I want to be there for as many of the moments and share as many moments with them as possible. So some of it, frankly, is forced upon me because of those choices I've made. So it's important to me that I'm, depending on what stage you're at, that I'm at the bus stop in the morning. I want to see them in the evening, and I want to be at their activities. And so I really zoned in on that from that time frame, from 2016 to 2019, to create a really optimal work-life balance. And everyone has their own opinion on this. Some people say there's no such thing as balance. Others say it's achievable, but it's this, undulating thing throughout my life where I find periods where I'm probably tilted a lot more to work than I am personal. The really cool thing about Ascent is it feels like life's work more than it's work, if that makes sense. So it's really important that I share all these things that I've done over the past 14 years with my wife, with my children, and invite them into this experience. So in many ways, you could say my work-life balance is actually, from the exterior, probably looks a lot different than it did back in 2018. But I tell people often, so I created all this free time for myself during that time period, and I spent all that free time learning how to build and scale a business. And so it hit this point where it was like, okay, when I'm 83 and I'm looking back, what decisions will I regret the most? So do I want to stay comfortable and make a really reasonable living and create a great life for my family, but not feel like I shared my passions with them? Or do I want to go for it? And do I want to seek that adventure and, stumble and probably make mistakes? But looking back, knowing that I put it all out there. And there's a quote that I'm probably going to completely butcher, but I'm not like a big gladiator, enthusiast or anything, but there's you think of this visual of, the old gladiator stadium. There's the gladiators that are on the floor, and then there's the spectators up above. And one of my mantras has always been like, I want to look back at my life and have been the gladiator on the floor. I don't want to be a spectator. I don't want to sit and wonder what it had been like. Does that mean there's tough decisions and tough stages of life? Absolutely. But the reward is more than exceeds all the trials and tribulations. So
Yeah, the Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the arena, his speech talks to that effect. As one, the man in the arena is the person who's actually out there doing, right, getting done, and the crowd is cackling and things like that. So it's interesting. So for Ascent, can you maybe just offer us a glimpse into your future plans and goals that you have for that business?
yeah, absolutely. as I shared before, this did start as a passion project, and thinking, Styles and I and my partner in Ascent, our first retreat we designed was actually just for the two of us. And we designed it, we carved out 2 days and planned the whole trip, designed what we'd be doing throughout that. And we thought it was fantastic, but of course, because we designed it. So, so that evolution that started with just the two of us, we invited some other people in our inner circle along just to share it with them, and expecting to get both positive and constructive feedback. And the response was beyond what we expected, and people found so much value in the experience. It's something that's so unique in the world we live in today. We encourage people to not be on their devices. We encourage them to unplug. It's really, focused on taking care of themselves, being out in nature, evaluating and reflecting, and creating that clarity where, the building blocks fall in place, where things start to make sense. Now, as I shared, 4 children is important in their life. It's not realistic for me to be running retreats every week or even every month. And so a lot of this evolution has been, how do we take that experience and how do we take that clarity and bring it back home? And so a big part of this is a local community I've been a part of, in a peer group, similar to a mastermind, a group called Studio E. That was a lot of the inspiration for me to start doing a lot of the soul searching. And so now taking that Studio E community and actually evolving that into creating the Ascent community in the Twin Cities. And so bringing peer groups, a group of other people that are facing similar challenges that you're meeting with on a monthly basis. You're sharing challenges, you're celebrating the successes, local experiences. So that might be a sauna cold plunge event, held somewhere throughout the community, and then also learning experiences. So, this can be a thought leader or just someone who has really dove far into a subject, sharing that with their community and giving them access to those people that they probably normally wouldn't be able to have a conversation with. That's how we're designing this community locally and bringing that experience back here. So if I look forward, we plan to build sustainably. So we plan to build to 100 founding members and continue to build beyond that to 200 to 300 members locally. And once we feel that we've created that balance of value from them and the community and that social support network, then we can expand that beyond the Twin Cities. But we want to start locally and not necessarily think small, but focus on small and local, and then begin to share it with the rest of the world.
No, that's an interesting business model that you talk about, and that's something that's very, very unique. So I appreciate you taking the time to share that with us. So recognizing that this show, right, is directed towards people that are going to be in maybe their first few years worth of business. Do you have any final thoughts or words of advice you'd like to share with our audience today?
Yeah, I would, something I've learned in being in that undulating pattern is set some personal boundaries for for yourself as a business owner, especially if you have a family or other people in life, because if you're starting a business, you're likely wired to be a high achiever, and you're going to pour yourself into it. And if you don't have some sort of framework or some sort of personal boundaries, it's really easy to gradually, day by day, realize that the days are flying by and we're missing a lot of opportunities to connect with those around us. And I would say that's the one thing that I would hold on to the most, is just respecting those boundaries. And you'll figure it out. You'll figure out how to fit everything in, but it's that visual of filling up the jar with the big rocks and the little pebbles and then the sand. Like figure out where your big rocks are. What is most important?
Mhm.
Because all the other stuff is going to fit in there. But if you don't start with your boundaries, then it's really hard to do that down the road.
Well, great. Listen, thank you so much for your time today, Matt.
Thank
And
you. I appreciate it.
yeah, and it was great meeting you and learning more about your entrepreneurial journey and this business that you're building called Ascent. And to everyone watching, I look forward to seeing you in our next episode.